Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. I'm really excited to be here. I have a special guest hailing all the way from Northern California. We have Frank Zhu. Frank Zhu is a metaphysical practitioner based in Northern Cal. He has been using his metaphysical abilities and knowledge he's obtained through his own spiritual awakening to assist others in their awakening. Frank, thanks for coming here, man. I'm really excited to have you on. I'm really excited to talk about stones and how you see the world and all the great healing stuff you do.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And no, it's awesome to come on and share kind of, my perspective and also in any kind of spiritual knowledge I can offer people. That's pretty much what I've been doing for this whole time since I've been awakening, and I've kind of gotten the confidence in myself to kind of put myself out there and talk about these things. It wasn't always like that, when we first start. We just it's waking up is a very kind of personal thing, and it's all about the inner work. It's all about going inside yourself and kind of really discovering who you are. And to do that, you kind of have to be alone. You need time to yourself, and it's been a long process, right? And I've gotten to the point where I can come out and talk and kind of, and it's all my opinions on it's a mixture of my personal experiences in the field and my opinions on what I think is kind of good and bad, or my perspective on it. And I just want to offer that to people.
Beautiful.
One topic I really love is stones, right? Stones, stone energy, crystals, minerals, rocks, plenty of names for them. And, it's interesting. There's many kind of subjects and kind of offshoot branches of spirituality, right? And metaphysical stuff. It's a very broad kind of topic. And when you first wake up, you might start kind of gravitating towards one thing or something else. But one thing that's kind of like a consistent common denominator in everything is stones and crystals. And like people always kind of talked about working with them. And when I was first kind of waking up here, the first time I ever saw like a little quartz crystal, and this must have been 2012 or something. And this is kind of when I first started, 2011, 2012. I was thinking to myself, oh my gosh, that is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. I had no idea. I had no idea these come off the ground, and all this stuff. And it took me a while to actually kind of understand that, okay, there's actually energy inside of these things, and they help us, they assist us in our own kind of metaphysical and spiritual awakening. And people always kind of talk about the healing properties of stones, the energetical properties of stones and crystals, and that's something I really kind of gravitated towards. And so I really, really, really like that. And in the beginning, right, if you were to tell me that stones and crystals had energy, honestly, I probably would have laughed, and I probably would have been like, well, the only way I'm going to feel that is if you knock me over the head with it, because I'm not going to, because I'm probably not going to feel it any other way. Yeah. And it's over time, I've come to learn that like stone energy is a really subtle, kind of like a soft, subtle thing, right? You have to kind of tune into it. It's not something that you're gonna feel right away. You have to really be relaxed. And the way stone energy works is that each stone has kind of a different metaphysical property. Each stone can assist your energy body differently. A really good analogy I like to use, and I've been giving these kind of classes out here in California, like in stone shops and stone stores. I'll have anywhere from 5 to 30 to 40 people come in, sit down, talk about stones, talk about how they benefit you, and teach you how to feel the energy. It's really cool. And one analogy that I think that fits stone energy the best is stones are to your energy body what vitamins are to your physical body.
Oh, I love that metaphor. Yeah.
Yeah. it's like, hey, you take vitamins, a good multivitamin, you work out over time, you're going to start getting the benefits of that on your physical body. Stones are the same in a metaphysical sense, where you're waking up and you work with them, right? Here's a beautiful quartz. You work with them, and over time they're going to start benefiting you metaphysically. They're going to start benefiting your energy, your spirit, and all that good stuff. So I think that's like the most appropriate kind of analogy I can think of as far as how to explain like how it works, how it benefits us.
So Frank, what would you say, like, how do stones specifically, and I, first off, actually, before I ask that question, I loved your metaphor about how stones are to the energy body as vitamins to the physical body, man. I think that really nails it. And it's so funny to me because I think if you're coming not from, the awakening or the healing community, you might think to yourself, oh, like that's a little bit kind of wah wee woo. But then when you look at technology, like we use copper, we use quartz, and all of our technologies in our microchips and our televisions and all of our electronics. And so it's like those are built from rocks and stones and minerals, and they're transmitting stuff all around the world. So I really love that metaphor that you use. I really think that helps to kind of demystify it for a lot of people. But one of the things that I wanted to ask was, how can stones particularly help you along your own awakening journey as you wake up more to life?
What they do is they help wake you up like faster and stronger. Stones and stone energy, they're not necessarily gonna heal like an open wound, but they can heal. And it's more about the kind of emotional healing aspect of it. One major stone that a lot of people like is rose quartz, right? Rose quartz is beautiful. It's a beautiful pink stone, and rose quartz it's a very interesting stone. It's what rose quartz does is it actually takes what the energy in your heart, right? The frequencies that you have in your heart, and it amplifies them. So if you have like a couple, for example, that really like each other or really love each other, you give them some rose quartz, and they'll feel those feelings and emotions even more. And that's one example. All the stones do different things. When I recommend stones to somebody, what I like to do is I like to look at their frequencies, and then I like to kind of get a reading on what they need in the moment. Somebody who's kind of nervous all the time or needs to kind of stay grounded, I would give them some, like hematite, for example, very strong, kind of powerful grounding stone, keeps them relaxed and calm. Jade does the same thing. There's many stones that kind of help you relax and ground and calm. And so I would just recommend, I tell them, hey, this could really benefit you, and all you need is a little piece of it. These big pieces I have here, they're beautiful, but you actually don't need something that big. You just need something smaller you can work with. You can hold it in your hands. You can relax and meditate with these stones and feel the energy, or keep it in your pocket as you go about your day. Jewelry works awesome too. Jewelry like necklaces and bracelets and rings, it's touching your skin, it's touching your body, so you're getting that benefit from it, even if you're not realizing it. It really just kind of, I guess it really just, it's determined based on what that individual needs, there are stones that just kind of help you wake up like faster and stronger. They activate your energy centers. They help you flow. And, it's actually an interesting subject of talking about electronics, like like gold and silver isn't everything, right? All computers, all electronics pretty much has gold and silver because it helps send electricity, helps send energy faster, right? Gold is a conductor or a transmitter. It actually does the same thing metaphysically. It's funny because we have in our body, we have the 7 main, chakras, and then you have the Kundalini, and then you have all this energy kind of flowing all over your body, right? Metaphysical energy. That flow sometimes can be impeded. And if you're looking for a stone or a crystal that kind of helps you kind of, get flowing and going again, silver and gold are great options. Copper too, copper. So it's kind of funny how we use that in our electronics, but also it also helps us in the same way metaphysically. Yeah, it's really interesting because I whenever I'm feeling down and out and I want to get my energy flowing and going, I'll just get a piece of copper and I'll hold on to it. I'll relax, and next thing you know, I'm just feeling the energy kind of flowing. So
nice. Frank, do you have a particular stone? I'm just genuinely curious. Do you have a particular stone that you like, or something like this?
I do. I must say, like, one of my favorite stones is probably the blue stone, lapis. I have a big one right.
Oh
there.
Yeah.
It's on the bookshelf. I love that stone, and what's funny is that there's thousands of stones, right? There's thousands of different crystals and stones and all this stuff, and I always knew, like, I had an attraction towards that, and that was in the very beginning. I remember, like, just kind of seeing lapis for the first time, and I was like, wow, I really like that stone. I don't know why. There's 1,000 different stones around this one stone, but I really like this deep blue color. Like, it was just kind of my color. And I didn't know. I just had that natural attraction. And then later on, I found out one of my main frequencies, one of my main energy centers is like it's like this blue kind of pineal gland energy. And so naturally I was like, oh, okay, well, that's why I'm attracted to that.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. Blue's my favorite color. I mean, I'm wearing a blue shirt now. I got the blue here. Yeah, we're wearing the same shirt. Like, it's if you look at my home, I just have blue everywhere, and I love the stone. Oh, what's the stone? I think it's what's another blue stone aside from lapis lazuli? I can't think of it right now. Maybe it'll come a little bit later.
Well, there's quite a few. There's the lighter blue shades of stones, like Larimar. It's like an ocean colored blue. It's kind of like the color of our shirts. There's more darker blue stones, like sodalite, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, there's quite a bit, and the reason why I like blue, the color and the energy and the frequency of blue is like affirmation of self. It's like a strong knowing of yourself. It's confidence. It's affirmation of self, and it's also pineal gland energy. So it's like a seer energy kind of. So people, I see people that have that a lot. They have a lot of blue coming out of them. And what's funny? You know those kind of like aura machines that people have in stone shops. You can go there and you can sit down and get a photo of your aura taken. So I knew these were kind of my frequencies, my colors beforehand. And when I finally went in to get that done, and I did the aura machine, you put your hand on the biofeedback sensor and they take a photo of you. There was just nothing. It was like 2/3 of it was blue. was that deep blue color, and I was just like, all right, cool. That's confirmation.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, Frank, I'm interested. Can we steer the conversation of stones more towards the ancient world? Do you have? Because I would love, because stones were so frequently used in the ancient world. I mean, when we look at the biblical times or like the Hebrew culture, they wore stones, and we wear jewelry today, and whether we're aware of it or not, there are those metaphysical properties and effects that they have on the body and the energy body, like you said. Can you tell me more about what you know about the ancient world and how they use stones?
Absolutely. Depending on how far back we want to go, like they all the cultures around the world knew that stones were more than just a physical object, right? They understood that there's more to it than just looking good, or or something, or jewelry. They knew there was more metaphysical and spiritual aspects of these stones and crystals, and each culture had their own kind of take on it, I believe, their own kind of thought process on it, and they used it in that way. But they all had that kind of belief. Like the Egyptians loved lapis. I mean, they the Chinese cultures, the Asian cultures really kind of put jade on a pedestal. They love jade. They called it the stone of prosperity. What's actually funny about that is, there's really no stone that's going to just kind of magically give you money, but jade, jade, what it does is it really calms you down. It really calms and relaxes you. So if and we make better decisions overall when we're more calm and relaxed. So if you're talking about making a decision based on finance or money, and you have jade that's benefiting your decision, you might make a better decision, which might yield more money. That's right. Just the things. And so all these cultures had their own kind of understanding of it, and they all kind of used it in their own way. Now, if you go back even further, like if we talk about, like, let's say Atlantis, right? For example, or even Lemuria, these kind of ancient civilizations that mainstream science, mainstream whatever hasn't really, they're not saying, okay, yeah, they existed, but there's so many talks about it. These cultures now, they really understood crystals. They actually used them. They used quartz crystals like this to power their devices per se.
Same as we do today. We just use different stones, and
Exactly. They took that metaphysical energy from especially quartz crystals and used that to power their devices. So it's really it's really cool, because they throughout history there's always been kind of like an understanding about stones and crystals, that okay, there's something more here, and we're just now kind of touching the surface of it, I think.
Yeah. What do you think the modern world, like, what do you think the best lesson the modern world could take from the ancient cultures and how they use the power of these stones and crystals? I know that's a pretty deep question.
Yeah.
So I don't expect an answer right away.
I think there's multiple fronts to look at with this question. A big thing that we do in the modern world today is we exploit a lot of stuff. We kind of abuse and take stuff and use it to the maximum extent, and it's kind of harmful. They understood in the ancient cultures that you kind of only take what you need. You only kind of, I guess this applies for so much more than just stones, but it was also prevalent with stones, where they knew that you can't just kind of take like in Brazil, for example. There's a lot of kind of aggressive mining operations to dig out natural resources, coal, and all this stuff, and actually the big beautiful geodes like amethyst that comes out of Brazil, and all that cool stuff that comes out of Brazil, those are actually byproducts of bigger mining operations that are down there, where they mine for natural resources like coal, whatever. I can't think of all of them, but whatever it is that they do to extract all that stuff, because Brazil is so mineral rich. Amethyst and all these cool quartz, it's a byproduct, but they're so aggressive with it, and they just kind of exploit the land. They just kind of tear everything up and really cause a lot of damage over there. I think the old world, they knew, okay, there's we can benefit from this, but we shouldn't take this for granted. We shouldn't be so kind of greedy and selfish and just take. I think that's one of the biggest things that we can kind of look back as a whole, as a culture, as a civilization as a whole, because we're kind of leaning towards that direction of just really just being extremely kind of selfish with everything.
Right. So. Yeah, I think the best thing that we can do and what we can learn is really recognize our connection to the environment. I always tell people, like, yeah, your human body is just a walking piece of land. Like, that's really all you are. Like, you're a walking piece of land. And the more you honor the environment in the world, you're going to see that affect you directly and your energy and your emotional state.
Exactly.
Yeah. We understood that connection that we have to the earth and the world and how we are actually it. Like our bodies are actually the land itself. I think we would definitely treat the world a little bit differently. And it's good to see there are different organizations and people who are making this aware. But, you look at some of the other, I've had the opportunity to spend time living with some other cultures around the world, like tribal cultures, and they're just so in tune with the land. Like they recognize it's a part of their consciousness. They recognize that they're one. They recognize that who they are and what they do to the world is always paid in return some way. They recognize that reciprocity, and I'm going to quote the Lion King here, but the circle of life. They really have a deep intuitive understanding, and I think we all have a deep intuitive understanding. It's just that maybe if you get caught up in the modern world, you got a lot of caffeine and coffee in your system, and you're working your job, and you're watching. Like it's easy for people to forget, and I really what I think's great about the awakening process is really just awakening up to what it really actually means to be human and just to be natural. And we don't. What I found is we don't really need too much to be happy. We need good community, good people, good food tends to help. Honest, authentic relationships, and usually I see that if we have those things, that's what makes life really enjoyable.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about kind of going back to your roots, going back and just kind of simplifying everything. We've definitely lost a lot, touch as a society as a whole to the natural world. In certain parts more so than others on the planet, but as a whole, we really have, and it's kind of a shame. I myself, I try to get out as much as I can, to go out the woods or something and just kind of get away.
Definitely. I want to ask a couple more questions here, and then Frank, after that, do you have time to take some questions from the audience?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Perfect. Guys, if you have any questions for Frank, start throwing them up there in the comments section so I can start seeing them, and then I'll just go right down the line. So I guess another question that I want to ask Frank is how do you see us in the future using the power of stones and crystals? I mean, we're already starting to use them a little bit, but it's definitely not mainstream. I know you can find in some forms of naturopathy and in some forms of the yogic tradition, they use stones as well too. So it's some of more of these all natural alternative medicines, they use them. Do you see a vision for the future and how humanity is going to use these at a more global scale, aside from the way that we're using other rocks and minerals and crystals in our technologies?
I definitely see that stones will be more prevalent. Like it'll be more commonplace. Right now, if you talk about stones with somebody, if you pick anybody off the street, it's a 50-50 chance that they're going to look at you like you're either crazy or or it's really cool. It's a gamble, because it's not so mainstream and it's not so kind of like it. Some people will look at you like, oh my gosh, you're a witch, like, So I definitely in the future it's going to be more kind of accepted. Like if you look at how where it's going now, so many people are waking up, so many people are becoming more interested in spirituality. They're deviating away from traditional kind of thought processes, like maybe religions, for example, and they realized, okay, there's more in this world than what we've been told our whole life. I'm in something, maybe something spiritual, something metaphysical, maybe more Eastern philosophies. I don't know. And then with that, comes, they open up their mind to other possibilities. So there's definitely going to be more of a kind of like a mainstream kind of, let's say, acceptance and understanding of stones. That's one thing. Number two, I definitely do also see us using this in our technology more. It should be incorporated in our technology more, because they have so much potential to really benefit us, to really help us as a society. I was just reading about a company that was taking quartz crystals and making kind of hard drives with them, if you will, that store data. Yeah. And you know what's funny? So I want to talk about something. Quartz, the only thing on the planet that can actually record history like that is a quartz crystal.
Yeah.
And that was actually the main purpose of the Atlantean, the 13 crystal skulls from Atlantis. That was their whole purpose. Was that each skull, right, of the 13 had knowledge in them. Because what happens with, I'll tell you a story. I can ramble on about this forever, but a quartz crystal records all the information of its surroundings, where it was grown, who the miner that picked it for the first time, and the people that have had it, handed down, over the years and whatnot. The only thing that can do that is a quartz crystal, nothing else. And with the Atlantean skulls, that's what they were doing, was that the individuals that made those skulls put their own knowledge inside of it, right? Put their own. It's like a history book almost. And the whole idea was, when you get all 13 together, and somebody who's kind of like relatively awake and aware can sit down, meditate, tap into those skulls, and pull whatever information they wanted. From the past.
Memory sticks.
Yeah, exactly. One time, I'll tell you a story. One time, I bought this beautiful quartz from a local miner up here, and I went to his house and said, "Hey man, you got some cool stuff. Can I buy them?" He's like, "Yeah, sure." So I came back home with a bunch of stuff, and the first thing I did, I grabbed one of the quartz crystals and I sat down and I started meditating. I held it in my hand like this, and I just started meditating with it. And within like 5 minutes, I started seeing these images in my head. Now my eyes are closed. This is inner vision. I started seeing images in my head of these, like a silhouette of hills and of outlines like mountains. And I was like, oh, this is really cool. I'm looking at these mountains, and I was like, wait a minute, this looks familiar to me. And then I started seeing a guy. I just saw one guy there, kind of with like a hat, and he had all this gear on him, and he was just sitting there chilling. He had like a canteen with him, and he was just looking out in the mountains, and I could see the sun coming down, and I could see him just sitting there with like a pile of rocks next to him. And I was like, holy crap, I'm looking at, because the guy I saw was the guy I bought the stones from. I'm looking just right at him, and I'm as I'm doing this, I'm feeling into him. It's like empathetic. Like I can feel kind of how he's feeling. He's really happy. He's just like in the time of his life out there up in the mountains digging for stones. The next time, it was like a week later, I went back to him to buy more stones, and I said, "Hey man, I got a question for you." I said, where do you go to mine these stones? And he's looking at me like, well, I can't tell you that. It's mine. And then I was like, no, you don't understand. I was like, do you have a view like this, and the mountains are like this, and you have a nice spot on the cliff overlooking the horizon? And he's like, well, how the heck do you know that? And I was like, well, it's a long story, but I just wanted to get some confirmation on that. That's all.
Yeah, it sounded like there was some pretty cool psychometry going on there, where you were just getting that information right from it, right into your third eye, and then you were just seeing it.
Yep, and that's how quartz works. It's a memory stick. That's the only stone that really does that. So I don't know, just a cool story I want to throw out there.
Great. Yeah, I really think the future of quantum cloud computing, they're going to be using crystals. Like I really see all of the computing power that's going into the world right now. I think they're going to be using crystals to store memory, to process. Like I see that as the future. And frankly, I don't know why they're doing it yet. If anything, it's probably just so they can keep the prices higher. On the memories on the memory sticks they have right now. So
exactly.
I love this. Yeah. Well, Frank, we're going to go into some questions from the audience. So guys, if you have any other questions here, please bring them to the front and we'll bring them up for Frank here. So I'm going to go first. Let's see. We got a couple of them here. I have to look at. Okay, here we go. So Troy. Troy says, "Hey, Jared and Frank, what is your best way to identify your crystals? I have the Crystal Bible, but doesn't seem. So it looks like they're looking for like how they identify their crystal and what's good for them."
Crystal Bible, the book by Judy Hall. That's a good book. And also there's another book I'd like to recommend if you just want to know like the metaphysical properties of crystals and what does what basically. Judy Hall writes a good book, and also Melody. She writes a good book called Love is in the Earth. And in there it's like an encyclopedia of stones where you can just like thousands of stones are listed and you just pick whichever one, like let's say you're walking through a stone shop and there's so many options and you don't know what does what exactly. You can just pull up that book and just, okay, this stone does this stone helps with that,
Beautiful.
What I would recommend is finding a stone that really kind of it helps you, because again we're all made up of different energies and frequencies, so different stones help us. Like some stones help one individual more than somebody else, and what I would definitely recommend is finding out kind of what your kind of makeup of frequencies and energy is, like where you're stronger at, because we're all different, and with that, finding a stone that's kind of tailored to that. I work with people a lot, and I give spiritual consultations. And when I read people, I look at people and I say, all right, well, you know what, your energy is like this, but sometimes you're a bit shaky, you're a bit nervous sometimes. I can see that in your energy; it's shaky. So maybe some I stutter a lot. It's a thing. Maybe some like calming stones will help you out, right? Like ocean jasper, beautiful calming stone, and that's the other people who are lacking. Let's say they're lacking confidence, they're lacking passion, and they want something to kind of kickstart their energy. I would give them something like carnelian. There's many stones out there that do many things, and also like protection. A lot of people that I work with kind of get attacked in their sleep at night by kind of spirit energy. And a really, really, really awesome stone for that is black tourmaline. Black tourmaline is a great kind of protector stone, because what it does is it takes your energy and it makes your energy really like slippery. It takes your aura, makes it really slippery. And so when something comes in, something negative, like energy, spirit, whatever, comes towards you, trying to attack you, whatever, trying to screw with you, it just kind of slides off and bounces off. So that many different stones for many different reasons. I would just recommend finding your own kind of personal frequencies, and you may just kind of intuitively know kind of what you need, and just kind of go from there. Some people,
yeah, that's what I remember when I was first choosing my stones that I liked. I would just walk into a shop and see what resonated with me.
Yeah,
and it was always a blue stone. It was always
absolutely.
But it was like, okay, yeah, this is it right here. So I think it's really just kind of feeling it and trusting that intuition. Yeah. I'm going to go to Anna's question here. She says, "Is it possible that certain stones can have negative effects on some people?"
Yeah, that can be a thing, because sometimes negative things attached can like adhere onto stones, negative energy, bad energy. So that's where the whole like cleansing stones comes in. And if you kind of get a hold of stone with negative energy, It could affect you negatively, right? You could have a bad experience, or not bad, just kind of a not so pleasant experience. That's where you can cleanse the stones. Also, some other times, some people have kind of mistaken a positive experience for being negative because it was a powerful experience. Sometimes people who are more sensitive, more kind of heart energy, heart centered, heart oriented people, they feel a lot. They're very empathic. They feel a lot. They pick up on emotions and kind of frequencies and stuff like that. They're very sensitive people, and sometimes when you give somebody like a stone that's really powerful, that really hits them hard in the initial impact, and they feel a lot of pressure somewhere, they may kind of perceive that as negative, but it's actually just a strong kind of impact. It wasn't negative; it was just powerful. That's all. So that could also be a thing. But the biggest concern, if there is any, which is not really a lot because it doesn't really happen too much, is something negative adhering onto a stone and affecting you in that way. I'd like to share a story, if I may, of something. One of my first experiences with feeling stone energy was I was on Craigslist, right? I was shopping for stones on Craigslist, and I met this lady, and she was selling stones in her house. So I went over to her house, drove about a couple hours, and in her home there were stones everywhere, like every single corner there were stones, and she was like, "Oh, it's all for sale, go ahead." And for me it was like being in Disneyland. I was like, "All right, let's go." What can I get from here? So right away, so I'm walking around the house and everything was cool. She had this big beautiful quartz tower, big one, above her fireplace. I mean, it must have been like 2 to 3 feet, and pretty wide too. And I was like, wow, it's beautiful. But as I walked by this kind of crystal right here, I almost wanted to cry. I almost broke down. Like I became instantly depressed, and I was like, what the heck is going? Like what? Like I didn't come in here into her home feeling like this. All of a sudden I do. What's going on here? So I knew right away it was coming from the stone. So her name's Carol. And I said, "Hey, Carol, can I just get that stone and work with it really quick? I just want to. Something's going on here, and I just need to figure it out." So, and she was cool with it. She's like, "Yeah, sure, okay." So I take the stone down. I put it down. I feel the energy, and instantly the stone's talking to me, and the stone, she was saying, there was a loss. Like she just lost somebody, lost something. I got the words death and loss in my head, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, what's going on here?" And then I kind of intuitively knew, okay, something happened, So it was a personal subject, but I looked over at Carol. I said, "Hey, I know this is personal, but did somebody pass away recently? Did something happen here? I don't know." And she looked at me. She's like, "Well, yeah. My mother passed away, and that was her favorite stone."
Wow. Yeah. The stone had taken on that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow.
And so that, and when I felt that energy, it did have a negative kind of impact on me because I freaking was depressed right away, But when I found out what it was, I understood. And I was like, all right, that's fine. And then I started working with the stone. I started putting more kind of calming, healing frequencies. And I was telling the stone, I was like, look, it's okay. Everything's good now. Everything's good. And over time, everything was calm. A couple minutes later, the stone was calm. So that can happen. Other than that, not really. It's not a commonplace thing. It happens once in a while. But yeah,
nice. Beautiful. Frank, I'm going to go to the last question here from Tina, and she says, "Frank, what do you think about crystal beds, the crystal lamps that one can lay under?"
Oh, those are awesome. So what happens is when you have a stone like near you or on you, like it's helping you out, right? The energy, so long as it's relatively close to you, it's affecting your energy, and it's kind of quote unquote cranking you up, right? Powering you up. You're getting the metaphysical benefit from it. So when you have like a crystal bed, or even if you put stones underneath your bed, and I do that actually, when you have something like that and you're sleeping on it for the whole entire night, that that stone's affecting you the whole time. It's helping you out the whole time. It's powering you up the whole time that you're sleeping. You know, for the whole 8 or 10 hours or however long you sleep, and you wake up with that kind of benefit there. So I love those crystal beds because you're getting the benefit without really doing any work. You just kind of you're getting the metaphysical, the energetical benefit of stone energy without putting any effort. You're just sleeping. So I that's why I love those things. They absolutely work, and I have stones under my bed. I put quartz. I put selenite. Selenite's a nice kind of powering up, overall amplifying stone. And also I put black tourmaline under my bed, so I don't really get messed with and attacked as much as.
Beautiful. Yeah. Beautiful. Well, Frank, thanks so much for coming on. We really appreciate your time and energy. And I'm seeing a lot of other great questions here. Lily, Nicole, Tina, Troy, Anna. Guys, if you have any more questions, feel free to post them in the group, post them in the comments, and I'll go ahead and forward them to Frank if he wants to take the time out.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And Frank, what can you tell people where you're at and what you do and what you got going on?
Absolutely. So I call myself a metaphysical practitioner. I just basically use my abilities that I've gained over the years to help people out. I have a YouTube channel where I kind of just give free information, my kind of perspective on whatever subject. Same thing with Jared here. It's a fun thing for me, and it's just my name. If you just search up Frank Zhu, you'll find that. I also give consultations, spiritual consultations, just kind of, looking into things for people, giving a reading for people and helping them out, giving them advice that can help them out in their spiritual, metaphysical growth. So it's a number of different things. I would say just check out the YouTube channel and just kind of, see what resonates with you. I have many topics, not just stones. I talk about, pretty much, I think, a lot of stuff. Stones is a big part of what I do because I just love it so much. Like my bookshelf in the back here with all the stones.
Beautiful. Well, thanks so much for coming on, Frank. We really appreciate your time and your energy.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Everyone, thanks so much for joining. That's all I got for this time. If you haven't yet, please check out the link. We got the Awaken Life class. If you haven't downloaded that, that's about a 2.5 hour free class for everyone who's waking up into the fullness of who they are. So go ahead and check that out. Also, we're starting up our Awakening Intensive this upcoming August. If you want more on that, please feel free to reach out and connect. We'd be honored and delighted to have you join. We got some great interviews coming up next week as well, too. So be looking out for what we'll be doing upcoming next week, and I'll see you all soon. Have a lovely day, everyone. Thanks for joining. Bye for now. Enjoy the weekend.